Welcome everyone. I'm very happy to see you all here. What I'm going to present to you today is 6 months of my study on the Q clock. I don't expect for everyone to get all of the nuances of everything I've gleaned so far today, but I do want to show you all the basics and how to match up current events to past posts. Unlike most clock theory out there, I'm going for time proofs, such as you see on tweet to post. I'm looking at specific markers as relayed by Q. You have access to QAnon.pub for detail. I'm only putting together maps, coordinates laid out by Q, to find and put future proofs past, and you have more than you know, into perspective. It is uncanny that certain pushes happen at certain times, and they most often land on the clock. Q has ingeniously given us all the clues we need, in a legal way, to understand events that are to unfold. Some have already happened, and some have yet to manifest. Rest assured, he was quite correct saying that we should trust the plan. So before we begin, I want everyone to watch this introduction video. After you've watched it, we will begin the discussion on further details, such as mapping, keywords, and other things to look for. We will end with a couple of Q clock proofs. Is everybody ready? 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the show.
This video was made to help you to understand the Q clock. While this is a theory, it is proving to be more than what we thought it could be. It really is very simple once you understand that Q wanted to point us towards events that, even those said in past posts, indicate future events and clues. It is the plan. Trust the plan. First, we will start off by understanding the components of the map, and then explain markers as stated by Q. Then, we will identify some keywords that can be applied to the clock. This is a map device for those who wish to do their own research and uncover the entire behind-the-scenes events as they unfold. Learn to read the map. The inner circle of the clock indicates the minutes contained in the hour. Many ciphers can be used with these time deltas. Many researchers use them to compare tweets to Q posts, as well as to news events. However, for this particular theory, we will be using them in a more simple way. As you go around the clock, you will notice that each time delta has a corresponding set of dates in a line that go into the future. They can be commonly called delta date sets, as they will all fall on the same second mark on the clock. As Q posts, there will be colored bubbles indicating that day on the clock. For example, in this post, Q has indicated when to start the clock, December 7, 2017. As you can see, Q had posted beforehand, and there are markers on those dates to consider. However, Q did say to start it at this specific day. Post start date bubbles prior to this date have been indicated in gray. After the clock starts, they are indicated in light blue. Q has indicated to follow the markers. They may have something to do with what is going on at the time, or they may have to do with something that will happen in the future. That is why we have come up with a way to show when these markers are mentioned in the posts, a legend of timestamps, each with their own color. These will be rings around the date in which the marker was mentioned by Q. You can verify these by going to QAnon.pub. Simply enter in the marker keyword you wish to find. For example, clock, marker, TikTok, etc., and it will produce the posts that include that marker. Of course, we have already done that for study here. This clock will have all of these up to date on the clock itself. Time markers are permanent on this clock. From there, we can add keywords to check for special occasions, such as when you have two or more other markers, or a mirror marker to indicate other places to look on the clock. Here are some examples of how keywords are indicated on the clock. Note that all keywords will be boxed in and color-coded. For other marker keywords, such as the infamous plus, plus plus, and plus plus plus, we have indicated those as triangles inside of the date bubbles. Mirror markers can direct you to look straight across the clock for clues, or possibly to read a particular post backwards, i.e. beginning with the last sentence and reading upward. Also, these markers will direct you to look at the delta date sets for Q posts in that line that may uncover more clues to previous posts. Here's an example of one we found. On December 19, 2018, Q posted a time marker. Plotted on the clock, you will see that along the delta date set that there is another set of markers. And on that same day, Trump tweeted this. On April 23, 2018, Q posted this, as marked in the delta date set. Looks like a Q proof. Past proves future, future proves past. With this information, you can use this system to possibly predict upcoming events hidden in the clues left for us throughout this journey. All it takes is to pay attention to the time delta date sets for previous markers, or crumbs left for us to discern. With this Q clock, you have a way to make sense of the events unfolding around us, and a clue to the plan POTUS and the Q team has set. We are all here to help, to disseminate information, and to be prepared for the eventual chaos that comes with true change. Hopefully this brief tutorial helps you with deciphering the Q clock. It really is a simple code if you have the patience to study it, the will to do your own research, and the insight to see the patterns, and most importantly, to come to your own conclusions.
So this is what Q proposed as the map. Simple enough, right? Now imagine 3,500 plus posts. Not so simple anymore, huh? Made my eyes glaze over just thinking about it. What us clock fags have done is make this map a little more easier to consume by breaking it down into 60 increments in succession as Q wanted. The clever person who came up with this is a genius. I'll show you how it works. In the video, we described deltas. These are basically the minute markers on a clock, 0 through 59. And of course, there are 60 minutes in a clock, always 60. These minutes represent days, so one full turn around the clock is 60 days. As you can see, we've been around the clock a few times. Every time you reach the same delta point on the clock, you are forming a delta line. All of the Q post days marked by blue bubbles in that line are a delta set, which we will use to create the map. The dates are, in this example, December 7th, 2017, February 5th, 2018, April 6th, 2018, October 3rd, 2018, and December 2nd, 2018, reading from the inside out. Do you see them? Now that we understand what deltas and the corresponding delta sets are, let's see what this looks like on a map. What I've done here is gathered the dates Q posted on the delta line we are using for this example, which is delta 00. I know this one isn't as pretty as mine, but I wanted to show you what the map basically looks like. No worries, I'll be showing you mine in a little bit. Now here's a Q tip for you. If you read the map every 60 days consecutively, you will read all of Q's posts. Remember earlier I said that Q wanted them in succession, right? Well, the next day will do just that, so that Delta Map 01 will follow right after this one, and you can continue to read them in order. Clock fags use all types of ways to decipher the clock. Some will use timestamps, as some will use the watch to indicate dates. All of this can be used. I do my clocks a bit differently. I use keywords. I've noticed since I started this that there was a pattern in some of the words Q uses in posts and decided to track them. It was revelation to me once I found my first Q clock proof, as shown in the video. The map I have developed initially used color coding and shapes. Most of those deal with markers, clocks, etc., and a few that use keywords like Iron Eagle, Keystone, etc. However, there were many more I wanted to track, and you are limited on colors and shapes, so I started just putting them on the map, as you can see above. This new addition has been quite revealing, as the matching to twits, articles, and speeches started popping out quite often. Understand that not every post will be relevant every time you land on that delta again, but some will, so it's good to track them all. I know the concept of mirrors is pretty self-explanatory, so I won't go too far into it. Basically, it's just a matter of going exactly opposite of the delta you are on. So in this example, the mirror of delta 00 is delta 30. There are varying theories on which deltas should be mirrored. I am one to stick to what Q said and only mirror posts in which the keyword mirror is used. There are only 6, but that is just the way I do it. You can do it any way you like. Year-to-date deltas have been brought up a lot by Q. So what I've done in my maps is to add them when there is one. The easiest way to find them is to count back 5 days from the delta you are on or want to know about, and then trace the delta back to the center. Easy peasy. This one is self-explanatory. Q said at one point 2 days ahead of schedule. There has been some post events that have been within a couple of days of the plan that I've seen over the past few months. So this is just another good point to pay attention to. In general, given year to date and these 2 days ahead, I'm generally satisfied with proofs being off a few days because of this. It happens. Keep in mind only some events are 2 days ahead that come through, while most land on their correct deltas or year-to-dates. This is why the clock is not adjusted. There are plenty of examples of this working, and more are coming in like clockwork. I'll limit it to a few current ones just to demonstrate how this works. Example 1, Q clock proof thread for Nexium connection year to date. The first article here is from March 28th, 2019. We're looking at the Nancy Salzman-Bronfman Nexium in the news. Now go back to March 28th, 2018. From Q972, Q posted about Nexium cult leader with a link to a Fox Nexium cult leader coerced women into sex, branded initials on their slaves, authorities say. So there is your year-to-date clock marker. Example 2, Q1993, future proofs passed on Delta 25. Back then, Donald Trump was tweeting about the corrupt Google as highlighted by QPost in 1993. Now, on the same Delta, news came out about Project Veritas video about Google tampering with elections. Example 3. Mirror match in the news. On July 2nd, we heard that the Russian sub lost 14 crew members. Here's the article. The first thing that came to mind to look for to see if this incident was on the clock was to look for the keyword Red October. There wasn't one on that day's Q clock map, Delta 32, but there was on its mirror, Delta 02. It was even designated as by Q as a marker. I hope I've demonstrated how the clock works and what you can do with it. Don't worry if you don't see everything right away. I didn't. It will come to you. I am noticing more proofs showing up a lot lately, which tells me we are well on our way to kicking some deep state butt and finally gaining our freedom back. That's what this is all about. This tool was created for everyone to use to help make sense of what's going on around us. I use it to pink pill teach on Twitter, mainly to spark the imagination of newbies coming into the movement. You can see my daily threads on Twitter under Philly Q and the interactions I'm having with other explorers of Q. The more people who understand the craziness going on right now, the less chaos we are going to have to deal with. If this tool helps us give explanations to those who don't know what's going on, well, then it's done its job. Thank you for coming to this class. Where we go one, we go all.